Welcome to the Thriving Therapreneur podcast, the show for ambitious therapists who are ready to unapologetically make more money, scale their impact, and build their dream coaching business. I'm Carly Hill, therapist turned coach turned CEO of a 7-figure online business. I created the Thriving Therapreneur podcast because I'm obsessed with helping big-hearted therapists outgrow the office and build successful and sustainable online businesses. So if you are wondering how you can continue to make an impact without sacrificing the life you love, welcome, Therapreneur. This is exactly the place for you. Think of it like the business school we never had. I am so excited to dive in with you. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Thriving Therapreneur podcast. I'm with Tatiana today. We run in the same circle here in South Florida. We kind of got connected through the NLP spirituality crew, which is amazing. And Tatiana has actually been through the Therapist to Coach Accelerator herself. She has a successful coaching business. And naturally, she became the mindset coach for all of the clients inside Therapist to Coach Accelerator. She is a master NLP practitioner. I'm going to let you just introduce yourself, Tatiana, because you do so much. You have so many credibility bombs. I don't want to botch it. And then today's episode is all going to be about really shedding light on the limiting beliefs that therapists can have even prior to starting your coaching business, but more importantly, once you're in the thick of it. Mindset is 80% of our business. And actually, when I created the Therapist to Coach Accelerator, I didn't even have a mindset call. So I was in the position where I was doing all of mindset work myself. And I was taking all of these business coaching programs, and I was so hungry for strategy. And coaches kept feeding me a lot of mindset. And I was like, okay, I'm a meat and potatoes girl. Give me my freaking checklist. Tell me what I need to do. Step 1, step 2. And that's very much how I teach. But I did recognize very early on the need for continuous mindset work, knowing it's such a huge part of our business. So I can't thank you enough for supporting all of the clients inside Therapist to Coach Accelerator, because it makes a world of difference. So welcome, Tatiana. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's been such an honor to be a part of it, and just to watch not only you grow this business and impact, but all the women inside. And I love it so much. But hi, everyone. My name is Tatiana. And so I'm a mindset coach. My background is in NLP. I'm an NLP master mindset coach. I'm a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator. I could label all the things I've learned and done, but I really am here just to help women step into their power and really claim the life that they desire in career and purpose and relationships. So I do it in a few different ways, but mindset, I'm obsessed with the subconscious mind. I'm obsessed with changing the labels, the identities, the behaviors, the beliefs that are holding you back from stepping into your true power, because entrepreneurship is no joke. I tell everybody, get ready, because this is about to be the biggest personal development journey you will ever go on. And even if you're a therapist and you know everything intellectually, doesn't mean you know it all. Embodiment, it will open up wounds and fears and beliefs like no other, but it is so worth it. And it gives you the opportunity to heal that and really step into who you are and step into your light. And I'm honestly so honored and grateful to be able to support you, your clients, your team, because the people you're working with have such a big mission and impact in this world, and they deserve to be able to make that impact for their clients.
Incredibly said. And it's a continuous journey, like you said. Just when you think that you figured your shit out, it comes up again in a different way, because we're constantly up-leveling, right? And as we hit a new level, something's going to come up again in a different way. And maybe it gets easier and easier to tackle. But when you said breathwork, I can't even believe I forgot to mention that. Our breathwork sessions, you and I, have helped me so incredibly much. I mean, Tatiana and I will go to the beach and I'll bring a blanket, and she always has the most bomb playlist, and we'll set an intention. And I swear it feels like it was 30 minutes. I'm like, how long were we just doing breath work for? like a full hour of breath work and I'll just be sitting there sobbing and releasing, or I'll go on some crazy journey in my mind and I leave feeling so light. And it makes a difference in my business when I am consciously putting an effort to do my own work.
Yeah.
When you said you're obsessed with the subconscious mind, can you shed some light on that for a second? Mindset is such a broad word, broad topic, but it really does come down to our subconscious mind, which is basically 99% of our mind.
Yeah.
So when somebody's struggling with a limiting belief and they're consciously aware of it, but it's still coming up, it's because they haven't gotten to the root of it, right? I imagine it like picking out weeds in your front yard. Like you can pick out the top of the weed, but it's just going to grow back. Like you got to get to the root. How do you get to the root?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's important to realize that if you keep having a similar emotion or belief come up, like it's an indicator that you haven't got to the root. And so some of the best thing to do is just to ask yourself why. Like, what does that mean? Why is that there? What do you believe? And like we get just deeper and deeper. Most of the limiting beliefs have the deep root belief of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, or I don't trust myself. I feel like those are the top 3 root beliefs that then stem into I'm not smart enough, or I'm not capable, or I'm not pretty enough, right? Like, but those are the deep, wounded, rooted beliefs that I feel like most all humans have.
Or I'm going to be alone. Like we're worried about what other people are going to think of us.
Yeah, the judgment.
Yeah.
I would even say though, like that would even come though from like, I'm not good enough. I'm going to be alone. Like I'm not good enough for love. Maybe you're worthy. Like, so yeah, I would say like, how do you get to the root of it? I think you just keep asking yourself, like, what is the deeper rooted belief? And I think coming back to childhood, because I think most of these beliefs stem from a significant event in your life, whether that's a parent or a teacher, you heard someone say something, or even you created meaning. Our subconscious mind was we were fully 100% subconscious beings from 0 to 7, then from like 7 to 10 to 12. That's when we're transitioning, bringing on the conscious a little bit. But think about all the things you consumed, all the meanings you made, right? Like you saw your mom cry and you may have meant like, oh, I must be a bad daughter. So you're walking around with this label that then creates all these other beliefs in other areas of your life. So bringing yourself back. Like when was the first time you thought of this belief? Can you think of a memory? I love having all my clients like close your eyes and ask yourself those questions, because your subconscious mind is like a filing cabinet. It's going to pop up a memory, a moment that you get to work through, and then you get to handle and heal. But I think finding that root is just asking yourself those questions, whether it's somebody guiding you or maybe you journal out, okay, what am I feeling? Okay, well, what's the thought that's creating this feeling? Why is that there? What must I believe to be true to think this? Look at your life. What areas of your life aren't going well? Okay, what thoughts and beliefs have you been thinking unconsciously for that to be truth? Because your thoughts and beliefs dictate your reality. And I think you can just keep asking yourself, well, why? Well, what is that? Why? And then you'll get to uncover the root. And that's when you're like changing your glasses and you're going to start viewing your life. It may not be gone suddenly, but now you're going to start becoming more aware of it and how it's showing up in every area of your life, most likely.
Most definitely. And also recognize that it's probably an irrational belief. You adapted it from, like you said, your parents, your childhood, and then you're making it mean something about your current reality. You're connecting these imaginary dots, if you will, when they have nothing to do with one another. But that's how our mind works, right? Mm-hmm. It's still holding on to that fear because maybe it once protected us, but is it really protecting us anymore? And kind of having that conversation like with yourself. And it's like, no, like I see why you're here. I see you're trying to protect me, but I got it. I'm going to be in the driver's seat. Let me handle this. Thank you. I love you for trying to protect me and trying to keep me safe and stay in my comfort zone. But I'm going to go do XYZ now.
Like being that like wise big sister leader. I would say this to all your clients all the time. It's like, well, I felt it for a moment, but then I tried to avoid it. And I'm like, you're like slamming doors shut on a wounded little child who's throwing a tantrum when they just need to be like heard and seen and like hugged and acknowledged. Right. And then you can be like, okay, cool. I see you, I feel you, and we're not going to let you run the show. Like you said, we're going to come back into the driver's seat. But I think it's that reminder. And for those listening, like you guys may know this, like as therapists, but we're all human and we all have blind spots. We all have our beliefs. And I think it's just that reminder thing. This is why I think there's power in coaches having coaches and therapists having therapists, like that support, because you're just as human and you're going to be just as blind when you're in like the middle of a triggered belief or an emotion.
Right. Yeah. It's like people always say, feel the fear and do it anyways. And it's almost like you're just forcing yourself through something instead of like feeling the fear, talking to it, saying what's up, acknowledging it, having a conversation with it, and then moving on. Right. You can't just like force your way through something. It's just going to come up again and again and again, 10 times worse.
Exactly. It's like, I think I like having our emotions as like little kids in tantrums. Like, think about it. The kid's throwing a tantrum, you close the door on them, and then what's going to happen? They'll probably keep going, or they'll exhaust themselves. They'll fall asleep. And what do? You open the door and the child's going to be right there, ready to like be acknowledged. So just don't ignore it. Don't avoid it.
Yeah.
Give it a moment to be felt and seen. Don't collapse into it. But like when you like just acknowledge it, then you get to rise up above it and choose a new thought, to then choose a new feeling, to then choose a new way of being in a reality.
Exactly. Let's speak to some of the common beliefs, limiting beliefs or mindset challenges rather, that therapists are experiencing once they do start their coaching business.
Yeah. The biggest one, or the very common one, is like this imposter syndrome. Like, well, who am I? Or some type of fear, or am I capable, qualified, smart enough, like whatever it is. All of those little beliefs, it's constantly like this imposterness. And I love to say this to everyone, because when someone said it once to me and it just landed. When you feel like an imposter, like imposter syndrome, that is one of the best indicator symptoms that you are growing and you are evolving, right? We are humans. We're meant to be growing. We're meant to be constant students and learning new things and being beginner at something else. And so when I hear someone say, I feel like an imposter, I'm like, great, you're just stepping into a version of yourself that you've never been before. So of course it's going to feel uncomfortable. Of course it's going to feel like, who am I? Yet you probably felt the same way when you went from a college student to a therapist, right? You probably felt like, this feels uncomfortable. I've never been this version of me before. But guess what? You acclimate and that becomes your new normal. It's like, I say it as like a thermostat example. You're just changing your temperature, but eventually you get accustomed to it. And so instead of seeing this feeling or these beliefs of like the feeling of imposter syndrome as a bad thing, see it as you're on the right path. You're pushing your limits. You are growing. You're stepping into a new version of yourself. And so then with that, knowing that, can you view these beliefs in a different way and say, of course I'm capable of this. If I've done 4 years of schooling and whatever years of therapy, of course I can do this. It's just a little shift. It's just a pivot. I'm just expanding as a person and in my career. Am I smart enough? Of course I'm smart enough, right? I think then you get to give yourself that grace and compassion of like that feeling of fraud or it's meant to be there because you've never been this person before. It's like walking in a new pair of heels. You're going to walk a little awkwardly because you haven't worn them ever before, right? I just know when I tell your clients that, like, they're like, that makes me feel so much better. Because I'm like, of course you're not. It's like, how are you supposed to feel like this is normal yet if you've never been this version of you?
Yeah, it's stepping into a new identity.
Yeah.
A beautiful reframe, by the way. And it's so funny, too, because we're such academic people and we are lifelong learners. I mean, we went to school, we have a master's degree, we have a license, some have doctorate degrees, you have certifications, every letter of the alphabet. So we're in this mindset of constantly wanting and almost like feeling like we need to know more, which leaves us with this ever evolving, we don't know enough, which it can be both and. Like we can constantly be learning and evolving and also simultaneously know enough to lead the people who are maybe 10% behind us. And I have absolutely gotten caught up in this myself. And it almost comes like from the fear of success, you know, where you kind of self-sabotage and you're like, well, I'm just going to take this certification first. And then I'm going to take this certification. And once I do get these certifications, well, and then I'll be good enough to finally go create my course or launch my coaching business or whatever the case is. And you get stuck.
No, it's that not enoughness. And then I actually had a conversation yesterday about it. It's like, well, when is it going to be enough? I get it. I used to do all the certifications and cool, it taught me a lot. And are you giving yourself that time to embody it And can you feel that enoughness within you now? Can you feel that trust and confidence with you now?
It's also such a
Because
buzzword, imposter syndrome. I think we have to be careful of the story we tell ourselves and identifying with imposter syndrome just because it's the easy thing to do when in reality, you may not be struggling with imposter syndrome at all.
yeah, you may be struggling with comparing yourself to somebody else.
Exactly. Or you just may not have all of the resources to successfully launch what you're trying. You maybe just need more information and strategy.
Yeah. Or even like embodiment. That's like the one thing I've noticed, at least in my experience with the coaching field. It's going to be kind of bold to say versus therapy. I see coaches embody the work a lot more than sometimes therapists. And I say this kindly, but I have had therapists and mental health counselors be like, well, I tell my clients to do this, but I don't do it myself. So then that's where that could be a root of why you're feeling this way, because you're not walking the walk, right? I'm not saying all coaches embody the work. I've just found the percentage working both with now therapists and coaches, at least the coaching programs I've gone in, it's like, no, you got to do the work in yourself first before then you're even able to teach the principles to somebody else, in my personal like experiences in my bubble. But I think if you look at that and see how this entrepreneurship journey could be an opportunity for you to go within to work on yourself, then you're going to be able to heal that enoughness. And then you're going to be able to find the resources that you need to then not constantly feel like this imposter, because now you're embodying the work that you're teaching. And again, it's not all therapists, but I have heard many say that. And I was like, that can also be a route too, because then you're telling somebody something that you don't do yourself. And there's like this famous like story with Buddha. I think it's Buddha. I tell a woman this too. I'm like, this mother brought her son to him and was like, tell him to stop eating sugar. It's not good. And he's like, okay, come back in like a week or so. Comes back in a week or so, talks to his son, and he's like, stop eating sugar. She's like, why couldn't you just say that the first time we were here? He's like, because I can't tell you to do something I haven't done myself. And it's like, it's all of that. You don't have to go through everything that you're here to support your clients with, but can you just embody the work? There's a difference in feeling. And so I feel like that is not big, but another reason why people may feel that impostery or like not enoughness feeling, because they may know truthfully they're not doing what they're telling their clients to do themselves.
Right. Or even if they are doing it, sometimes, I mean, we're so brainwashed to not self-disclose and our story is not important.
Yeah.
And it can sometimes be difficult to step into this new identity and show up unapologetically and really like shout to the rooftops, embody this work when we feel like it's quote unquote wrong to do so. So we're speaking and we're marketing about like, hey, this is how I can help you. But the part of us that is really sharing our personal story is afraid to come out.
The fear of being seen, that's a huge one that comes up a lot, because you guys in school, it wasn't taught to be open and share your story as a therapist.
Let's talk about the visibility for a second. Fear of being seen. Where do you see that come up most often? Is it social media?
Yeah, it's social media. I find that there's this like fear of if they share their story and if they're open and vulnerable, they won't be taken serious or seen as the authority or seen as the expert. And I like to reframe it as like, I actually believe in the opposite, because people just don't buy into what you do. They buy into who you are. And I personally, which would much rather pay way more money to somebody who has actually been through a very similar situation than me and who can actually understand everything I'm going through versus somebody who just is textbook and can't relate. And so it's that belief of like, there's many beliefs. Most of the fear of being seen comes from childhood. I've seen that pattern. They were too much and they were told to be quiet. And there's this fear of being seen, not safe being seen, not safe expressing their emotions growing up. But I will say that it is playing also a role of the programming and schooling of you shouldn't be sharing your story as a therapist. It's not like professional and it's uncomfortable to do that on social media. And I think social media in general is uncomfortable. The first time I remember sharing my video, my story, I was like, oh my goodness, like you're just shedding light to all these wounds and maybe parts of you that you're ashamed of or you're not proud of, but you should be proud of because you've overcome it. But it's like this, I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect human. And it's uncomfortable for therapists to really like share that because society looks at them as these people sometimes of like knowing everything and having their lives together, but really they're human and they have their own struggles and experiences. And I think sharing that has been an experience for some of your clients to go through, which of course.
Me too.
Yeah.
Truly. Like it does get easier over time. It's almost like exposure therapy. Like you got to fake it till you make it. You got to like put the post out there. Mel Robbins talks about how social media, when you're using it for business, like it's not for friends and family. Social media is an outlet and a portal to reach your ideal clients who you're meant to transform their lives. So much of what maybe we're afraid to post and be seen and these visibility wounds are coming up does stem from judgment, right? It's hard to be seen. What are people going to think of us? What is that going to make it mean about us? And then take it a step further, like you said earlier, it's going to make us feel like we're not good enough. We're going to isolate ourselves. We're going to lose friends. They're going to talk about us, whatever the case is. So when you can stay focused on your mission and your why, that's what's personally helped me. Because when I was switching into the role of business coaching, I'm like, well, who the hell am I to do this? I'm just a social worker by trade, right? But I was doing business coaching one-on-one on the side. I was helping therapists start their private practice originally. I was successfully running my own coaching business. I was like, I know how to do this. But when it came to like coming out of my shell per se, going outside of my warm network, actually changing my bio on Instagram and posting like, yo, this is who I am now and this is what I'm doing. It's scary.
Of course. Yeah. It's coming back to that like, well, I've never been this version of me before, or I've never identified as this person, but it's been within you all along. I experienced the same thing. And even for therapists in the coaching world who then pivot, right? Like that's okay too. I've been through like health coaching, and then I was already doing mindset subconscious work. Like I used to have clients be like, I get so much more out of our check-ins and our therapy calls because it was so natural for me. And it's okay. Then I shift. And I bet I had that fear that held me back from doing mindset coaching for so long. Cause I was like, well, who am I to be a mindset coach? Or when I have this thriving health business, then I'll pivot. But it's like, no, I'm not going to have the thriving health coaching business because I'm not meant to fully be there. And so, okay, then you pivot there. And then you watched me pivot, not pivot, but add on the relationship portion of my coaching. And that was huge and open and scary to share that side of me of, you know, I went through a public breakup. We got back together. We were engaged. We're getting married in 4 months now as we record this. But that was like, that's scary. Like that's an inside look into your personal life. And yes, social media, people are going to wonder like, wait, you don't live together anymore. So it was public. But because of what we went through, what we learned in our own experience and then my own trainings, I've now been able to help so many other people in very similar situations. So I think it's finding that, can you find the comfortability in sharing your story with a positive end or with a lesson instead of it being like, no, you just went through this. No, you went through it, but you overcame it. And this is why you're doing it. And connecting back, like you said, to your mission. I think when I feel this fear of sharing this side of myself or this, my life, I think about like, okay, this isn't for my friends and family. They probably won't even watch. And if they do, cool, have fun. You guys can judge if you want. But like, why am I saying this? Who am I saying this for? I'm saying this for the woman who's brokenhearted and feels like she has no hope in finding love. I'm saying this for the woman who's stuck at that dead end job because she believes she's not worth and capable of starting a business on her own. And so when we take the viewpoint of not us, but them, like I'm here to share my mission and message to be of service for others, I think that helps us dissolve a little bit of that fear. At least that's what's helped me. It's like bringing it back to like my purpose and my why and who I'm here to help. And if I don't share this, I'm doing them a disservice.
Yeah, perfectly said. Me too. That's really what's helped me the most. Let's talk about money for a second, because this is another big limiting belief that comes up. And also in school, we're taught, you know, we're not supposed to want to make money as therapists, or people say like, we're trying to capitalize on people's pain and make money off of their pain. But I am all about therapists unapologetically wanting to make more money and also simultaneously transform and impact more lives. Again, it doesn't have to be this either or, black or white. It can be both and, but people are always afraid they're going to be salesy. They don't want to come off as like too much. And then they're only talking about their offers like a little bit, or they're talking about their offers without confidence and conviction. They're being all shy about it, and energy comes through. Like, you have to be so freaking hype about your offers and what you have. Like, get in the room. Holy cow, you're missing out. This is what's happening. This is how I can help you.
Yeah.
What do you see most often when it comes to money?
Yeah. That fear, like the fear of charging because they don't want people to judge them for their price. But I just like to think about it this way. No one bats an eye when a doctor charges what they charge for anything, whether it's medical or cosmetic. Doctors can do both, make an impact and make a lot of money. Why can't therapists?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand where the stigma came in. And I try to tell everyone, it's like, don't worry. People already know, like, you have a heart and you're in it for, like, you didn't become a therapist for the money. We get that. Like, you're
Yeah.
here to provide service, but also you don't have to sacrifice your life, your desires, your needs to help others. Like, you can have both. There is plenty of money in the world. And when you can believe in that and take you out of the equation, right? It's a business, and see these people aren't just, this is what I see a lot. It's not just an hour of your time. You're charging for think about how much you paid for college, first of all. So your years of learning, education, your expertise, your years of training, all within a 1 hour moment, right? So it's not like, what are you worth for an hour? No, like, you're here to provide value and transformation in a shorter amount of time. That's priceless. The work you're doing for somebody is priceless. And so I think it's looking at, you're not charging what you're worth. You're charging the value. You're charging the transformation they get. And I find that that's where a lot of the fear comes in. Like, well, am I worth $300 an hour? Am I time worth? And I'm like, aren't you worth a lot more? Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Us as humans, we're worth a lot more. Or this, feeling bad charging this amount of money. But I'm like, okay, but like, people are over here buying $5,000 Louis Vuitton bags because they're
They value it.
Yeah, they value it, but some people are doing it as a mask and a pain way, right? So it's like,
True.
the money is there. People will prioritize their money, and we can't project our own limiting beliefs around money. This is something I did for so long onto our clients. I share the story where this was a couple years back with a couple years back in my business, and I had 2 clients. I shared one price. I shared the same price to both clients. One came back being like, oh my God, that's expensive. I could never afford that. And the other one came back as, wait, that's it? Of course, yeah. Like, let's sign up. When she said, of course, that's it, I was like, oh my goodness, I undercharged myself, right? And so realizing, like, I can't project my own beliefs of what I think this is worth onto somebody else, because the right clients are going to see the worth, because they're the ones in pain. They're the ones seeking your support, your expertise to help them. And the right clients will do whatever it takes, become resourceful. And of course, there's going to be some people that won't, but like, you have to stand firm of like, this is going to change your life. And that in itself is priceless.
Yeah. You can't put a price tag on it, right? You're quite literally transforming their lives, like you said. But it's also about having this no-brainer offer where the perceived value is so much higher than the actual price tag, right? Where they're like, whoa, I'm getting all of this for this. Sign me up. So there is strategy attached to it. But to your point, there's 7 billion people in this world. Somebody's going to pay you. They're actually waiting to pay you. And it's going to feel really good for them to pay you. They're going to be excited to pay you.
Yeah. I remember the first time I charged, this was in my health coaching days. I just saw the video the other day, and I got paid for what I wanted to pay. And I was crying. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's there. I'm breaking this belief that people won't pay for this, right? And an old, somebody I watch on YouTube, Myron Golden, he's like, your prices shouldn't make your client smile. They need to make you smile. Because think about this, as therapists, how many times have you walked into a session and you're not excited, you're not energized because you're not getting paid what you need to get paid, right? You're seeing 10 clients a day just to make ends meet. Like, no, you don't need to be drained. You don't deserve that. You can have both. I say, charge what feels so exciting, that feels like a heck yes, so that you show up with 150% of your energy. You don't resent your clients, and you over deliver, because it's actually a fair exchange. And that's where I think coaches can provide the most transformation with their clients, is when there is that fair exchange. Because I've seen a lot of therapists resent their clients because they know they're being underpaid and undervalued. And that's not fair either, because you're worth more than a shirt. Like, think about what people are paying, like Balenciaga shirts. You know what I mean? Like, it's there.
Yeah. Do the math, right? Like, figure out what are your standards. And you can also climb the ladder of raising your prices, right? Like, you can start off with one, you can get paid that, and you can prove to yourself, okay, all right, people will pay for this, and make it like a little game. Like, next time I'm going to offer $500 more, or I'm going to offer $1,000 more. And you keep continuously raising your prices. And then you can take, larger leaps because you're climbing, I call it like this ladder of believability. And you're proving to yourself that people want this. It's good. It works. I'm constantly adding more value. And then there you go.
Becoming your new energetic norm. Once you do it once, you can't go back. Like, you can do it again.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. I love that. I've heard the ladder believability example. I write it down. Like, I have it visually. I'm like, okay, this is the goal. What stepping stones can I do to get there? And realizing that, I mean, it is your business. You don't have to jump from like 2,000 to 5,000 right away. Because if your energy, like if energetically and your belief isn't there and confidence, I don't want to project and say like it won't sell. It will be harder to, because people feel your energy. Like you said, like, you need to be hyped. You need to be confident. You need to be like, you are only getting this for $5,000. Are you kidding me? This is a steal. It's going to change your life forever. We're just like, well, it's $5,000. Like, why would I want to buy it? Why would
it's $5,000? Do you want to think about it? How does that sound to you? Right? No, it's like all of this is valued at $7,500, and today's price is $5,000. And I have plenty of payment plans available. You want to make it easy for them to pay you.
And not worrying about, can they make it work? Like, they're adults and they are responsible enough to prioritize and manage their money where they need to. I think it's now letting go of like this fear of being judged around what you're charging, or whether, like, am I worthy? Again, it's coming back to those beliefs as to why aren't you charging what you want to charge. I've done so much money mindset work as I grew up with immigrant parents. So like, I had a lot of that like scarce money, and I'm still working through it. But I think when you can understand like money is out there and it is abundant, and you get to have both impact and money. Like, that's how the wealthy think. I read that in the book, The Millionaire Mindset by T.V. Hark. He's like, the rich, successful, wealthy people don't think this or that. They say, how can I have both? And that has always stuck with me. I mean, I can like give tips on like money mindset books that have truly helped me, but money mindset like needs to be done, because you have bills to pay, but you also have a life to live, and you get to have both that impact and that income that you desire.
Yeah, we can link them in the show notes, but I absolutely agree. And something that's also helped me is it's just no big deal. Like, I remember when I made my first 6-figure month, it was a year ago at this point, and I've been making 6-figure months since. But, I said to my coach at the time, like, holy shit, like, I just made like 6 figures in 1 month. Like, I wasn't even making 6 figures in 1 year in my other social work jobs.
Yeah.
And she was like, you need to make it no big deal. Like, this is what you do. It's almost like frying eggs on a Tuesday morning. Like, you just make freaking 6-figure months. You're just a millionaire. Like, that is just what you do. So when you're charging high ticket prices, you're, charging $5,000 for the first time, and you actually receive that payment, and you're looking in your credit card processor, feel the hype, feel the excitement, but then also look at it as evidence of like, oh, this is just what I do now.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I would add to that is, because I did that and I learned the hard way, was I wasn't in gratitude for it. So my learning of learning how to neutralize it was more of me being kind of like ego prideful, and I had a lesson there. So it's like, yeah, be grateful, but realizing like you're worthy of that. Like, of course I make this much because I'm providing this much value to the world. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. Because that was a hard lesson for me to learn. So,
yeah,
like,
be in awe, be in gratitude.
And
that's like the first step of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it gets to be your norm. It's like that thermostat again. Like, you did it once, you're an energetic match already for that. It's like, I forget who it was, if it was like Alex Hermosi. And I think he has like this story where he's like, yeah, once I was in this like $11 million mansion. Like it was, oh no, like maybe it was Joe Rogan. I don't know. Someone big bought this massive mansion. Oh my goodness. Then a month happens and that's, oh, like this is just my norm. Like, of course, this is my house. That like shiny object syndrome like fades. And so if we don't put like everything on such a high pedestal, it becomes reachable and achievable. And it's like, of course I can have this because like we're meant to have these abundant blessings financially and whatever your heart desires. And so it's like finding that.
Yeah. I want to talk about the fear, since we're on the money topic, of the money running out. I was having a conversation actually with a client yesterday, and she's having great success. And sometimes there is dips and lulls, especially as you're scaling, you're hiring a sales team, and things can fluctuate, right? And when you have childhood beliefs or situations that then tie into your current reality, when we know it's not the truth, but like you have reason to believe that money could run out or you could fall short. It has happened to you in the past, or it has happened to your family. And how do you overcome this fear? Again, it goes down to like, we had the conversation of like, well, where is this actually coming from? Like, have you actually ran out of money before, and her parents had a difficult time. And so it's very subconscious, and she's read all the books and listened to the podcast, etc. But she's got to pull the bottom of the weed out. But when you're making, like, it's like when people win the lottery, right? And then they lose it all, or they can't sustain it because their mindset is not up to par to hold the energy of abundance.
Yeah. They don't think they're worthy, capable, good enough for that. And then they spend it all because they self-sabotaged it because for whatever reason, right? I met somebody who was making so much money and he had nothing to show for it. Like he would pay all his bills, but he didn't have extra. But that's because his mom like installed this belief that like rich people are greedy and he didn't want to be greedy. So he would make all this money, but he had nothing to show for it, right? And he could still have the belief of like, is there going to be enough? Because he was operating that programming. I've felt that. I think feeling that fear for me personally, I would say, like, has it actually ever happened? And then what? Like, if you're here alive, you made it through though, right? Like it worked out somehow, not to say it was easy. For me, I always tie back to like my faith and like, God's got my back. Like it's going to work out because it's always worked out. I've never been left stranded because I'm still alive here doing something. I've had moments where I've had like emptied out my checkings account and I'm like, quit my job. And I'm like, wait, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay for groceries? So of course that fear is there and you feel it. And then it's kind of like a surrender moment, like hands in the air, like, okay, like God, like, or universe, like whatever you connect to, like, I'm here, like, help me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I believe entrepreneurship comes with having a faith in something higher than you. It always works out in some way. It may not work out in the way you thought it would, but it works out enough and it will be okay.
Trusting yourself too, that you can go from rock bottom or zero and continue to rise up. Like I always talk about how I went into debt taking business coaching programs to learn what I know now. And that was never with the intention to be a business coach. It was for myself. Like I was on a mission to crack the code.
Yeah.
And I would come out of my office and be like, babe, I'm spending another $10,000 on this program. It's like, again? But I was, I know you know this feeling deeply, but I was trusting myself and I was using debt as a tool that I would figure it out. So I was at zero. I was at negative, but I didn't make it mean something negative. Yes. I was still holding the hope.
Yeah, the vision, the fire. I saw a video the other day of this man, like those people that get interviewed on like TikTok or anything. He's like, what's the most you made in a year? He's like, I just made $160 million. Holy crap. He's like, what's your best advice? He's like, the people who are broke are the ones who are most dangerous because they're going to hit a rock bottom and they're going to be sick and tired. And eventually that is going to fuel them for the rest of their lives because they will never want to go back. And that's where I would say, like, right? Like, we know where we've been. We don't want to be there before. So that like fuels us versus we're just handed it as a child. You can't compare what it's like to not have it. So if you've experienced what it's like to not have it, can you choose instead of a victim story, a victor story and be like, okay, I'm going to trust myself and believe in myself to never be in that place ever again. And I'm going to use this as ammo and as motivation, as energy to completely build a different life than I've ever experienced before. That's what I would add to that.
Even if it wasn't you who experienced it and it was your parents, like you were talking about how you had immigrant parents, it's like use that still as a victor story. Wow, if they could come from zero and lead me to live this crazy abundant life that I'm living, then what else can I do? They made it. I made it. I can continue to make it. I can make it even 10 times better than they made it and use it as evidence.
Yeah. One thing I will add to that, because I think it's an important thing for me to share in my story, as well as some other people, it wasn't always like that for me. Like I had that as a why. So that was my why, my vision. But subconsciously, I felt guilty. I was like, well, who am I to make all this money and have this lifestyle freedom when my parents and my grandparents sacrificed so much for me? Like that's not fair. That was another way of me self-sabotaging money-wise success. And so that's one thing I just like want to bring that parent, because I think that comes up often more than people think until they hear somebody say that and experience it. And it's like, no, your parents had to go through what they went through. That's a part of their journey. And you can be here to break generational cycles and patterns. You get to show them the way, and don't feel bad for having a better life than them, because they made the sacrifices for you to do it. My mom was like, if you don't go and run and do better than me, then everything I sacrificed for was for nothing. And it was like a whole, it was a very deep belief and emotion and story I had to reprogram for myself. And I just think that people can easily fall into that trap too. But it's like, well, it's not fair. Like my mom had to suffer. So like, why do I get to have a better life than her? It's like, it's not about that. Like you have the better life. Let her sacrifices be worth it. And if she's still around, like give back, right? Just something I just wanted to add into that, because that was really big for me too. Like it wasn't like this. It was consciously, but subconsciously, I was going the opposite direction. That's again why the subconscious mind is so powerful, because that's where your values, your beliefs, your programming is. And so if you're not where you want to be, you might need to take a look at the subconscious, because that's what's driving the show.
Yeah, something similar happened to me where we kind of like make ourselves smaller, or we dim our own light. I was afraid to talk about my success. I didn't want my family and friends to find out, because it was more really like my family. Like I didn't want anyone to feel bad about themselves that I was rising above, right? Because I was always the cheerleader, boosting everyone up and like, you're doing so incredible, and being the listener. And it can make you feel guilty. Like you were saying, like that is the core emotion, like feeling guilty for rising up, being successful, being that bright, shiny light, because it could dim someone else's light. And because you care so much, like that would hurt your heart for someone to feel bad about themselves when they would compare themselves to you. When the reality is like, that's their own shit, but we care so much about other people, and our hearts really do want to save the world, that we're willing to sacrifice ourselves and our success for other people's feelings.
Yeah, when it doesn't have to be that way. Analogy that I heard that's always helped me, that I share with your clients, is like, just take a breath right now. You just had some oxygen. Guess what? You taking that breath didn't take away from anybody else. So there's an abundant amount of success and money, whatever else you desire. It's not taking away from it. So when I thought of that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I can be successful, and so can the other person. When I shine my light bright, it doesn't dim other people's, it inspires them to shine brighter. And it's just, again, that story that you have to like shift and change, because you sacrificing yourself for other people hurts nobody but you. And that was something I had to work through as well. And I think a lot of therapists too, because they're so service oriented, their hearts are in it. They don't want to be seen a certain way, because it's service driven, they're heart driven. But you get to have both. And that is something you get to work through, because you don't have to live like a paycheck to paycheck just to make an impact.
Yeah, full circle to just how important mindset really is, continuously getting down to the root of your subconscious beliefs, changing at the identity level. We have to be the person to do the actions to have the successful business, working a ton on our money mindset continuously for everyone. I think this is the most I asked my clients last week, I don't know if you saw this in the Facebook group, but like, what's been the most helpful for you on this journey? And a constant theme was money mindset, money mindset, money mindset. And you opened up the podcast by talking about entrepreneurship and how you're going to learn so much about yourself. Like, you think you're going on a business journey, and you are, but you're really going on a personal development journey. And money is a big part of that.
Huge.
So continue to do your work if you're listening. Any last words or advice you have, Tatiana, for anyone who is in the thick of their coaching business, they're struggling, or maybe they're thinking about taking a leap and these limiting beliefs are the one thing that are truly holding them back?
Yeah. I'd say a few things. For the people with the limiting beliefs, I would just say, like, how much longer are you going to watch others live the life that you want to live? Ooh. Right? If others can do it, you can too. And there's so much, like, I don't even know how many billions of people live in this world, right? There's enough room. Cool. You want to work on relationships, and there's already coaches in relationships. You do it in a different way. You bring your own story. This is how your story comes into play, your own uniqueness. But when is enough going to be enough for you? Like, what's that moment where you're going to be like, okay, I'm done feeling sorry for myself, or I'm done comparing, or I'm done coming home miserable. I'm going to make a change in my life. And I get it. I've been there. But like, how much longer is it going to be there for you? Like, isn't it worth taking a leap, investing in yourself, giving it everything you've got, to then be like, I chose to put me first. I chose to build the best life I could. That's what I would say, with love. And let me tell you, it's going to be the best leap you can ever take. And you may not get, this is where I would tie into the second thing. It may not be as easy as you thought it would. It may not come as quick as you think it will be because of everything you see on social media. But at the end of the day, if you have a strong why, it's worth it. But how can you enjoy the journey? I truly say to everybody, there is no destination. The only destination we have is death. Sorry. There's no destination. Every time you hit that goal, financial, client goal, guess what? Your subconscious mind's going to create another goal, because that's what it's here to do, is to think on, like, what's the next thing? So instead of hyper fixating on where you want to be or where you're not at yet, how can you enjoy this journey in life, right? But especially in entrepreneurship. How can you bring more fun, more play, gratitude, more grace, more compassion, where you can actually enjoy the journey, because there is no true destination. And when I finally made that mindset, I have sticky notes all over my wall, and all your clients know this. Like, I need these reminders. I'm like, how can I make today more fun? How can I make today more enjoyable? Like, I have these questions here, because you can get in this, like, in the thick of it, and you can get in your head. But it's like, whoa, life is a journey. We're here in a blink of an eye. It's an experiment. So, like, how can you make it more enjoyable? How can you enjoy the ride more? And I think that will allow you to, like, truly enjoy it versus just
have fun. Enjoy the journey. Don't focus on the outcome. Those are the right questions to ask yourself. Someone on Instagram last night was saying, I'm afraid to start my Instagram, Carly, because I'm afraid it's all going to be a waste. And I was like, you're asking yourself the wrong question. You're starting off with the wrong mindset. You're focusing way too much on the outcome. Like, start the Instagram right freaking now. Let it be fun. I'll be your first follower, and enjoy the journey.
Yeah. Let go of the expectations and pressures. And if you think, like, you're like, well, it's too late. No, nothing is too late. I have the same thought process. I'll tell you, like, when I joined TikTok, I stopped because I thought it was going to, like, be dead. Was wrong about that. And I was like, well, it's too late. Why start now? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to show up for fun. Instagram can be for my business. This is going to be for fun. And guess what? That fun blew up. That fun opened up amazing amounts of opportunity, because I was having fun. I took the pressure off. And I believe when you're in a state of joy, you become a magnet to your goals and desires, because you're enjoying life. And I truly believe, like, that's what we're here to do as humans, is, like, to enjoy whatever we're doing here on earth. Like, just, and you have fun with it. So yeah, it's totally worth it. Just have fun.
Have fun. Enjoy the journey. Where can everyone find you so they can soak up all of your beautiful energy and have fun and feed off of your momentum? You're such a leader and an inspiration in this space.
Thank you. Yeah, my main hangout spots are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So I'm at all three of those. I'm at Tatiana_Couto. And then I do have a podcast. I have taken a little bit of a hiatus, but there are almost 200 episodes that you guys can binge watch and listen to. Lots of interviews with entrepreneurs as well to really keep you in that motivational mindset that I think you would all value. And so that podcast is the Radiant Life Podcast.
Incredible. And I will link all of this for you guys in the show notes below so you can go listen and follow and soak in Tatiana's beautiful energy. Thank you, Tatiana. I am so fortunate to have you in my life, in my business, and be leading all of the wonderful, ambitious therapists through this journey of adding coaching, buying back their freedom, impacting more lives, unapologetically, making more money. So until next time, therapreneurs, keep chugging along.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Thriving Therapreneur podcast. I hope that this episode has inspired you to reduce burnout, work smarter, and see the freedom potential you have as a therapist. We would love to have you inside the Therapist to Coach Accelerator Facebook group, where we have live trainings and cheat sheets on all things marketing, sales, and adding coaching ethically and legally. I am here cheering you on, and I'll see you around.